All right, let's start working our curve into a wall surface. So it's intended in this exercise that this curve we generate will be at the midpoint of our wall. So we need to make a what will be a straight line at the bottom and a straight line at the top, and then connect those as cross sections to create our surface. So we already have our face width of our wall that we want to make. We need to make a few more elements, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this and duplicate it, and we'll make this our, well, we need to get up to the top of what we want our height to be. So I'm looking over here on my notes, excuse me just a second. See what I called things. So we have a facade height. So I'm going to rename this facade height. And we'll start to move these things out of the way. And we'll pull these down where we can work with them to start generating some lines. So we have another concept, and that is that our facade, we want to be up the top of like the second floor area. So we want to have a podium to the building that it has a different facade on it. So I'm going to make another slider, and we'll call that the podium. And the last aspect is the idea of being able to draw these curtains back, or this facade back as a curtain. And the way I've done it in this exercise is not to pull it back at the center, but to pull it back by adjusting the baseline and the and affecting it that way. So I'm going to make another another slider that I call draw, as if drawing a line. So now I have enough slider inputs, and you know we don't want this to be as large as the other ones, so let's say we'll just make this a value of 40 or something like that. And basically what we want to do now is just create a bunch of lines, or in this case it'll be polycurves. So we need to establish some points. So I'm going to grab a point by coordinate. And I'm going to leave this curve here, but I'm going to turn it off so we don't look at it because it's really just getting in the way right now. We need to raise it up. So our first point, we actually need to get it to a point where it's, and we probably want to, well, our podium can be up to 100 feet, I guess. So we can, let's move a point up so that it is, and that looks a little wild because of the view that we have here. Let me rotate this a little bit. All right, so that's the overall facade height. Actually the podium height, well, we'd never want it to be completely that high. So let's say we can go up to 30 feet. And we'll put a value of 20 in to start with. All right, so that gives us the start of a straight line that's going to go across. And it starts there, and it actually runs the width of the facade. So our first point is the start. We'll make another duplicate of this. And we'll move it on, I believe, the y-axis. We'll find out in a second here. Nope, wrong, x-axis. So we're moving out along the wall surface just as the other curve is. And we want that to become a line. So we're going to use, in this case, we'll work it as a polycurve because we're going to use it in as an element in our cross sections. So it's polycurve by points, and we need to bring a couple of points together here. Can't make a line with one point. So we need a list create. We need to sum those up. So we're going to take our 2 points. Now we get a list of 2 points. If I was to show here, right? We can check that. We have 2 points in space. And we're going to feed those into the points, and we'll get a line. So that's our baseline of our facade. Now we need another point which would be above that. I'm going to move this down, or I'm going to actually just copy this. And I'm going to make this one the top one. And what we really want to do is move it up. So we want to actually modify it. It's already above the facade, but we need to move it higher than that. All right. So we need to move it the podium plus the facade height. So we need a little math or create a code block here. And it'll be the podium plus the height. So we have the start of the podium, the height we want our facade to be, and I don't think we want our height to be able to run that wild, so let's tame this down a little bit, and we'll give it a 40-foot height. And now, so I'm combining the podium, which we've already got in, plus the height. So that gives us a new Z point. And I'm going to plug that into both of those. And now we have the bottom of our facade and the top of our facade. And we still have the midpoint of our facade. And I've turned it off because I haven't moved it up yet. So if we turn it on, it's way down here. So we actually have to do a little bit of math to get the podium to the right height. So let me make a new code block, and we'll zoom in on it so you can see what I'm going to write. So we have the idea that we want that to be midway between these 2 points. So we're going to start out with the podium, and we're going to add to it, and this will be in double parentheses, the height of the facade minus the podium, because we're doing we have to take it out to find out the midpoint. So that gives us the overall height of the facade. And then we want half of that, which is this midpoint. So that gives us the requirement for 2 inputs. So we're going to take the overall facade height and the podium height, and we're going to feed that into now what will be the z-axis of our mid curve. And I did something wrong because it's erroring out. So let's see where I'm screwed up here. It's a polycurve. Oops. I took the wrong element. I meant to put this one in. Okay, so there we go. It's now, let's take another view at this. It looks like it's sitting not midpoint. So let me see what we've got here. Alright, so it's low, so I must have done something about the way I envisioned the math. So I'm going to actually stop here. I'll figure out how I need to get this in the middle with the math I did here. I made something wrong with the way I wrote the formula, or thought about the formula. Height minus podium. So let me figure that out, and then I'll come back on this clip, or on the next clip.